So we're back here with another episode here on Sandy Bay Media. Make sure to give us a like and follow our page. So we're joined by Michael and Stan from Tuggeranong up in Canberra. And we're just going to get to know a little bit more about the women's program and go into a bit more detail. Michael, do you just want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Yeah, my name's Michael. I'm the head coach stroke technical director of the women's program for Tuggeranong in Canberra. Been there for 5 years and running a program that will hopefully be a program of choice for the girls in Canberra.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And we're here with Stan. He's the president over there as well. To kick things off, we're going to look at the history of the women's program at the club. Stan?
So, Rahid, it goes back about 8 or 9 years when Capital Football moved from what was our community state league based competition and introduced the Women's Premier League program. And at that time, Tuggeranong had a men's National Premier League, as is now called, side. And we saw this as a situation where we wanted to get into to give our players, our young players, something to aim for instead of losing them.
Brilliant. And just want to look at some of the work that's happened at the club so far in the women's program.
I want to touch on that. I've been in the role now for 5 years, and like any time you take on a role, we had some very successful sides in the women's program, but we also had some unsuccessful sides and some gaps that needed to be filled for us to be successful over the long term. So when we took over, I looked at putting a program in that. In a lot of clubs, you've got a lot of coaches who run their side and run their sides very well. We tried to put a program in place that was a definite link between each team. To the extent that we warm up the same. We have a periodization that's set throughout the club or set throughout the women's program to ensure that anyone who plays for any age group feels comfortable playing with that age group. We put a mentor program in where the senior girls are looking to mentor some of the junior girls. And try and create, within a Premier League environment, a sort of culture that creates that family sort of club that Tuggeranong's known for. So they all feel part of a family. And you've seen that while retention, I'm sure we may touch on that, retention within the women's game can be quite difficult. Throughout the last 5 years, there's some really core girls or young women, as they've now become, who stayed throughout the club and tried to grow that.
Brilliant. And I just want to touch on the mentoring program a little bit more.
I think it's key. There's a lot of girls who have played in our senior side now, and I could probably say number 5 or 6 without being totally accurate, that have gone from playing from when they're 6 or 7 to now playing in the first team. That's and there's also, you get groups of girls that are families or sisters that have been playing throughout the club and do that, and that just doesn't cascade onto the football field. It's great, but that's how you encourage your volunteers to play or to take part in the club. That's how you encourage family. We can talk about what we do on the field, and that's obviously the most important bit from me as the head coach, but without the back room or without the people who are running the club and doing the volunteer work, that's quite difficult to get success on the pitch. And to do that, you try and get the girls to be part of a family. So the best example is we're training on. There's an under-17 game on Tuesday night for Canberra. It's been rescheduled. Our seniors won't train. Our seniors will come and watch the under-17 girls, and all our girls' program will be there in the stands watching. That's sort of help and assist. And if we all train on the same field or the same area, so our senior players can come a little bit early. They'll help the coaches. They'll set up the drills, talk to the girls if there's any issues.
That's fantastic to hear that sort of program. In Victoria, I haven't seen too much of that going around. I
think, and Stan would have talked a little bit about the club in previous episodes. We're not it's our point of difference. When we look to set this program in place, you have to have a point of difference. We're not a club, unfortunately, who attracts big name players or have got W League players who come and play for our club. Our point of difference is that we're a well-run club. We provide a pathway that girls from when they're 12 or 13 can enter the Premier League and can see a pathway to play senior football. And And people, some cynics would say, well, you've got no choice because of the numbers, but we do give girls an opportunity to play at above their age group and to shine.
Right. And Stan, I just want to touch on some of the off-field stuff that the committee's been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been supporting Michael now for probably the last 3 or 4 years better than we did in the first year.
Yeah.
But it is about attraction.
Yep.
It's about making the girls and the supporters of those girls feel part of the Tuggeranong community and the Tuggeranong Club. And in the last couple of years, we've spent a bit more time dedicated to our under 10s, 11s, 12s girls.
Yep.
So they start to see the Premier League sides train. They train at the same venue now. We've really put some time and effort into that, and it's starting to show. We're starting to see the girls come through that junior program into Michael's squads. We lose a few because he's done such a good job and they go off to the Canberra United Academy program. But, you know, from our perspective, that's great. We're doing our job. What we struggle with a little bit, and unfortunately it's a work in progress, is getting those girls back. But I must say most of them acknowledge at least they came from Tuggeranong, which is the start. And that's the work we're doing. As I said to you off air, we started our first Heather Garriock football coaching academy tonight. It's not just for girls, but there's 9 girls down there in the ages of 10, 11 who have taken up that opportunity to start training with Heather and get that kickstart that we want. So
that's great.
We're doing a lot behind the scenes for Michael as well.
Yep. And it's brilliant to hear stories like that and watching programs like that grow and hopefully continue to grow in the future.
And we're looking at other things. You know, Michael's not even aware of some of what we're doing, but, you know, we're looking at whether we can develop, you know, an under 5s to under 9s girls competition if we can get enough girls. And if we can't get it ourselves, can we work with other local clubs to have sort of gala days where the girls play each other at those age groups as well? So a lot of work going on to build the girls' game, which is, you know, exciting.
Exactly. And I think that's what we need in our community, not just in one area, but like in across the nation, more programs that are looking at supporting female football, especially at a younger age.
Yeah. And the other thing we're looking at, and Michael's been very good with Christy Helmers this year, is getting girls into the coaching ranks.
Exactly.
You know, Michael's had a couple over the years. Claire Fields is another one, or Falls. Mum's Fields, she's Falls, where he's mentoring them as coaches as well. So he's doing a lot of work off the side, and we're doing the same with, you know, getting girls into refereeing. So there's a number of our under 13 girls who have taken their first steps into refereeing on the weekend. So it's a wholeness of the football community that we're looking at.
Exactly.
And the club has been very proactive in pushing that whole of the female side. So we've been involved in talks with Canberra Football and other clubs to be that point of difference where a lot of young girls will lose at certain ages because they want to work, they want to play netball, they want to do other sports. So from a Premier League perspective, we've been very strong advocates that Sunday is a game for playing Premier League, because that allows the girls to play Saturday, allows them to referee, allows them to get working jobs where they can then continue playing throughout those ages. And I think, as I say, we're a bit of a leader in that, but I think the community as well has got a strong role to play. How can we keep girls in the game? And part of that is having set times. I've got daughters myself. There's nothing worse than when you look at the fixture list come out, you've got 3 games on a Saturday, 4 games on a Sunday, 3 at 2 o'clock, some at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Young girls who are 15, 16 go to an employee when you're available for your shifts, and if you're not available, then they're going to pick someone else. So I think we need to, as a community, find that point of difference that highlights the good work done in the women's game and puts it on a bit of a pedestal.
Fantastic. Just kind of want to touch on some of the achievements over the last several years on the pitch or even off the pitch. I
don't know if this is an achievement because it doesn't sound very well. When I took over 3 or 4 years ago, we reached the finals, successful. We then decided to implement a new way of playing, new structures, new culture, etc. And with that, change becomes sometimes can affect results. And 2 years ago, we finished last in a competition with 1 point.
Okay.
Which, when you look at that, you think that's not really a great achievement, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even though, I'll be honest, a lot of those games we were in it all the way. We wasn't a sort of season where we're getting hammered. Last year, we turned that round completely and come sixth.
Okay.
This season, pending injuries, we've got high hopes we can continue that upward sort of trajectory.
Yeah.
The great news is now we've always struggled to field certain age groups and teams.
Yep.
We've now got full squads across all age groups. We've now got players in every age group challenging to play in the next age group as well. We've got a group of an under-17 team that's been together 2 or 3 years now, that if they can stay together for the next 2 or 3 years, we'll go into our first team, which we've not had that sort of transition before.
Yep.
So the future's looking very positive.
That's great to hear. And speaking of looking at the future, where does the club want to go with the women's program? Stan?
Well, and I think Michael's underselling his own abilities here. I mean, yes, we did struggle 2 years ago, but you know, it's quite easy when you have those tough times to lose all your players and not be, you know, attract players. We're still attracting players. You know, we had people, girls trial last night. Now we're already into the season who are, you know, identifying us as opportunities. Where do we want to go? We want to be, I guess, the club of choice in the Tuggeranong Valley. Mm-hmm. We want to be highly competitive. Whether we win titles or not, that's open to debate. You never know. You need an awful lot of luck. But we want to be known as, when they come down to Canberra and play us, that they're in for a really tough day. They can expect some fun and games, but it'll be a really excellent game of football, and they'll have to compete. And if they're going to beat us, they've got to be exceptionally good to beat us on our own pitch. We want to make a fortress. And Michael's developing that. You know, I didn't get to see his whole game on the weekend, but you know, 2 years ago the girls would have rolled over when they went down a couple of goals. You know, there was an error for the second one. They didn't. They kept fighting, scored at the end. And really, I think, you know, a point probably would have been, you know, fair for each club. But, you know, the luck's not always there, but we're working to it. And you know, talking to the CUA people afterwards, they knew they were in a fight on the weekend, which, you know, last year, 2 years ago, they wouldn't have been. So we're on that path. We're attracting people, and people want to talk to us. I was talking to someone who's of W League standard, and she wants to talk to us about how we can continue to improve based on her experiences elsewhere. So she's not committing to play for us, unfortunately, Michael, but she's willing to help us, you know, start attracting those players. So, you know, and that's good news for us.
That's it. And Michael,
and I think there's a challenge off the pitch as well. Part of I believe, the way of attracting girls, and we start doing this, we've got a diverse range of board members and volunteers. Sometimes when girls get to a certain age, they sometimes need career advice. They need to ensure we've got a great program where girls have a sponsorship with a local physio that they can go Monday night for free to get assessed. We've got a program in place where if anyone needs any help for career guidance, we can possibly put them in touch with the right people. If people's looking for a mortgage of a certain way, we've got sponsors that we can speak to and attract that. So
that's great.
Stan is 100% right. We've probably got the conversation wrong, like the pitch and stuff, but we're doing as much as we can on the pitch to attract people, and I think we're on the right upward there. But there's a little bit more there to the program. It is about making sure we can provide girls with an environment that they can play football comfortably and reach the best of their ability. But also, any assistance we can give them as a club or as a community can only help bring people into the club.
That's it. And I think last time when I was speaking with Stan, it's not just about on the pitch; it's also about the off the pitch. And what the club can do to
there's a lot of ways we can help people, and I think, as you say, that helps attract people, whether they move to another club for whatever reasons, but hopefully they all come back and their children are further down the track, a part of the club.
And we'll just finish off just because we're running out of time. Stan, is there any last things you want to say? Brilliant. Thank you for your time, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Ray.